says that it is going live. All right. I don't see it yet though. There it is. All right, cool. Oh, it is side by side here. So that's good. Oh, great. Perfect. Just wanted to make sure, like, I don't like it when it's stacked,
Right.
Oh, well, hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hello, doing great. How about you, Teresa?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited today to get to introduce you to the community. I've already introduced you a little bit with posts, but I'm really excited for everybody to get to meet you and learn a little bit more about what it is that you do. But first, Jamie, let me just say hello to our audience. Hello, ladies from the Wake Praise Lake community. If you are newer in here, thanks so much for joining us. We're glad that you're in here. This is the community for God-led business women. Hi, Amy, I see you. And we are here to really help each other grow in business and in life and in faith. And so that's pretty much the premise of our group here in a nutshell. But we're so glad you're here. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Jami Kirkbride. She is our sister spotlight for the month, which is really cool because she also just got into the Magnetic Sisterhood program, which is so neat to be moving into a new area of her business while also getting to meet the community here on a larger scale. So if you don't know what the Sister Spotlight is, it's basically just it's sort of like a reward and incentive for being an active community member. So you don't have to invite a bunch of people. If you do, that's great. But it's really about being an active part of our community here, making relationships with others, commenting, really being active. And so Jami scored that this month, and it's just so cool to get to introduce you to her. Some of you have already seen our post that Jami is a parenting coach, and she has so much to offer and to share with us. So without further ado, Jami, could you tell us a little bit about what you do and who you serve?
You bet. Thanks so much for letting me be here. It's
yeah.
I actually help parents who are overwhelmed with the struggle of raising kids who are highly sensitive, highly emotional. They may be intense, sometimes what we might refer to as challenging children. And I help parents discover through understanding personalities and sensory needs and mental health issues, how they can discover a calm, confident connection despite those challenges.
Wow, that's awesome and so needed, so needed. And I know a little bit about your business journey and how you ended up here, but could you share a little bit of your background with our viewers?
You bet. I have a background as a professional counselor and a personality trainer. And so for a number of years, I did speaking and writing and training on personalities and different ways that people could use personalities in relationships in general. But what I found was that the group that really embraced them the most was moms, parents. And the reason why is because it's a powerful tool in figuring out your child's strengths, their struggles, their emotional needs, and sometimes differences that you might have, and kind of figuring out some behavior issues and if those fall within the personality realm or if it's something more. And so parenting with personality was originally kind of brought to life as a way of helping to educate and equip parents in understanding child personalities. But what I discovered, and even through our own journey in parenting, is that sometimes you have a child who just needs extra, whether it's extra support or extra direction or extra care or maybe extra time, extra understanding. And for those kids, there was sometimes more than what just the personalities might allow for. And so through our own personal journey of putting the pieces together of our child's sensory needs and his mental health issues, we grew an understanding for ways that would work well with him. And I realized that when you understand personality, sensory, and mental health issues all together, when all those pieces are put together, you can know and understand and love your child in a totally different way. And I just had impressed upon my heart such a passion to help other parents understand how they can get that calm back in their homes and in their families, for their child and for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. And I like that, like it's really equipping them. Like all of our children, all children don't learn the same. All children don't act the same. It's like we're all so unique and we can go ask other parents what they did, but ultimately it comes down to learning your child and learning his or her personality. And so I find this like so insightful. One of the things, hi Faith, I see you. Thanks for joining us. One of the things that actually we shared this a while back inside of our student community interviews. But one of the things that you had first taught me was that every behavior is a form of communication. Could you expand on that a little bit about what that means to everybody else?
You bet. I think it's one of the most empowering things that I heard early on in figuring out our struggles with my son was that all behavior is communication. And instead of just dealing with the behavior or maybe trying to curb a behavior or stop a behavior, if we pause and we step back and we look at that behavior as communicating something to us, what is our child trying to tell us? Are they overwhelmed? Are they scared? Are they nervous? Do they need something? Is there something we can do that maybe they can't even articulate how to ask for it? And so I think slowing ourselves down in parenting is so key, and stepping back to understand. And I think that's the first step of understanding, is just realizing that whatever behavior we meet, something is being communicated behind that behavior. And it really totally transformed the way I parent and the way I could work with my children.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that. When I first learned that from you, it came at such a opportune time. But first, let me tell you, Faith is saying Jami is such an inspiration to her personally. And then she said, "Preach it, Jami. Behavior is always communication."
Thank you, Faith. You as well.
But yeah, so our son, he's a bit highly sensitive, and he's absolutely beautiful, romantic, but very passionate and can get aggressive. And so when I heard that, I started looking at his behaviors differently too. And you're right, like it just understanding that it can be like he's communicating something helps you to sort of change your own expectations in the moment. And suddenly you're not like the responsive parent, you become the proactive parent and understanding like, okay, this behavior is going on because of something else. And recently, over the past couple of months, our child has moved into the like exploring lying stage.
Right.
But even lying, like it's been really good in changing our expectations and understanding why is he doing this. And it has changed, Jami, it has changed. And part of that was just like trust, like there's a fear of getting in trouble. And so like, it's a protective.
Would I rather lie or get in trouble for what I?
Yeah. And so, but it is. And so for us taking that step back and taking a moment to try to figure that out, like now we know better how to approach it when it does happen. Right. And so, so insightful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, wait a minute. You mentioned a child, but did you tell them how many children you have?
I actually have 7 children. And that is why I've been practicing all of these things. And if it wasn't for personalities, I would think that I was kind of losing my mind, because I think what you find out as a parent, whether you have 2 or 5 or 7, is that what works for one child doesn't necessarily work with another. And what is golden with one can totally flop with another. And so I think what you are referring to is that we can easily get caught up in being reactive rather than responsive. And what we want to give to them is that we know them, we understand them, so we respond to them. And I love to think of it as to know them is to love them, because when we slow ourselves down and really know what motivates our child, when we know their needs, when we know their strengths, when we know their potential struggles, we can approach them so differently. And I think that's what allows that connection. So I
Yeah.
have had to practice all of these things with our 7 children. And, they're varying ages and stages. Our kids range in age from 7 to 25. So we see a little of everything right now.
Yeah, you do. New stages of life in there too.
Yes, I think we laughed because we were wedding planning and potty training at the same time.
Oh
Two
my
things that I
goodness.
had never imagined juggling at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. But how neat to understand that about personality. And like for us as humans, like we do have to take the time to understand who they are, versus like God with us, like he already knows all of that. Right. So it's just, I don't know, as you were speaking, it just was like a little like light bulb moment of, he knows us so intimately. And because he knows that, as long as we are open to that vulnerability with him, like our relationship can be so, so close because he already knows us so intimately. So if we apply that to our children, like
Yeah.
putting forth the effort of really wanting to know them and love them for who they are. And, it's like when we do take that time, it just seems like a natural consequence that a better relationship would be formed through that.
That's
So,
right. And I think so many times parents get focused on, I just need more time. I just need more time. And time is important, but I think what's even more important is the quality of that time. And that's what I really love about personalities, or, even about like the whole I Heart approach that I use in my coaching. I really focus on the quality of the time that you're spending, because we can spin our wheels if we're getting caught up in, I need 15 minutes of time. I need 15 minutes of time here or there. Or I need to do this activity. If our interactions with them are strained, or if we're struggling to connect, or if we're struggling to understand. And so I love that knowing the personalities, or knowing the sensory needs, or understanding at a different level our child's mental health issues allows us to connect in such a meaningful way, making a smaller amount of time mean even more than that large amount of time. And that's one reason that I just really love it, is because it helps us really treasure the time and make the most of those opportunities.
yeah. Yeah, that was very well explained. Yeah, because we can get into this thing like, especially mom guilt. I think parent guilt,
Yeah.
right? Like feeling like you haven't done enough or spent enough time, but it really isn't about spending long periods of time. It's about what you're doing together in that time that makes it quality.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of becoming a student of your child. I want to
Yeah.
understand them. I want to know what makes them tick, and understanding personalities can even give you an idea of how they might respond. So you can go into a situation kind of having a framework for what you might expect and where you'll go from there. And it just feels like it almost feels like this magic tool in your parenting toolbox, because it just brings with it such insight, especially when we approach it, with the idea that, God created that child for a purpose. Yeah. And he specifically and specially chose us to be that child's parent. And we get to help them accomplish the purpose God created them for. And we get those years in our home to make those connections, to kind of launch them to fulfill that purpose. And that's a pretty special job.
Yeah, it is. It is. Faith just said, I so need you for my daughter. Amy said, now that my kids are older, I've had them take personality tests and love language tests. It's so helpful. Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Yeah, I never actually thought about doing that. Is that something that you would recommend too, Jamie? Is like doing personality? I mean, I guess I don't know, like we've been talking about, but I never thought about taking the actual personality test with them.
Yeah, I co-authored a book several years back called The Yuzu, and it's actually the story of 4 monkeys through the course of their day. And as you read the story with your child, they pick which monkey does what they would do. And so it's kind of a story assessment. And at the end, you know what your child's personality is, and your child can know. And the reason I really like this is because even in our home, understanding personalities has become a family thing. Like our kids know what their personality is. They know what their siblings' personalities are. We know what our personalities are. We had 2 of our kiddos that when they were younger just really butted heads, and they just knew each other's buttons. And, oftentimes you can look at that through parent eyes and be like, oh my gosh, they're never going to get along. They're never going to be friends. But instead, we understood the personalities. And so we would talk about the strengths of those personalities, or maybe why those two personalities struggle to get along. And I remember telling them, someday you guys are going to be really good friends because you're actually very similar in personality. And as those two kids have gotten older, they have grown the sweetest relationship, and they are best of friends now. And my daughter said not long ago, Mom, I remember you telling us that. And she said, you are so right. We are so similar. And I just feel like Carter gets me. And so it's built within their relationship, not only an understanding, but a bond that I know you and I love you. And this is kind of what I can expect from you. And if they don't mesh, they, can chalk that up to, it's not a personal thing. We just have different personalities, or you come at the situation with something different. And so it really has been a special way for our kids to understand each other as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's really neat. And it's so neat that you noticed that when they were younger. That's really neat. Okay, so a couple times you've mentioned coaching. So we know that you help, but how can you give us a little bit of insight of what it would look like to work with you?
Sure. In working with parents, one of the first things that I would focus on is kind of taking inventory of the current situation. What is it that makes you feel the need for support or education or resources? And through taking inventory, we would identify, the top area that is maybe needing calmed or quieted or addressed in your home or in your relationship with your child. And from there, we would kind of establish some goals for how we would go about establishing some sort of change in that area. And then after that, I would spend some time understanding the parent's personality. And it might sound crazy why you would shift gears a bit, but understanding you is so key to the parent-child relationship. And some parents feel a little bit insulted when all of a sudden you shift and want to work with them, because they're like, no, I know how to parent. And it's like, yeah, I'm not the problem, no, don't focus on me. And it can almost feel offensive to parents. But I think, you have to approach it with the understanding that the only thing that you can really control is you. You can't control your child, but if you can understand, if you can understand yourself and understand your child, then you can control how you approach them. And so we would shift gears a bit to understand your personality as a parent. And then what we know about you, we would then shift into those goals. And how do we get you where it is you want to be? Or how do you make those changes within the relationship? And so the rest of coaching would then be, those goals and setting that next step. What's the next step in seeing that change, and what is necessary to go beyond that? And if there's roadblocks along the way, we would tackle talking through those, or figuring out, is this a personality issue? Is this a sensory need issue? Is this a mental health issue? And then targeting resources for which of those specific areas might need targeted.
Yeah, that is very in-depth. I love that so much. I love it so much. Faith just says it's so important to learn how to actually practice self-control relative to your personality. Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of times when you're working with a highly emotional child, it is triggering as a parent. And I think sometimes you just have to step back and figure out, why am I being triggered? What is it that's triggering me? And how can I ground myself? Because your child can't regulate when you aren't regulated. And so that time that we spend working with parents really is key to modeling what it is that we then want to see happen with our child. And we can kind of set the stage.
Yeah, so good. Thank you for explaining all of that. Yeah, this is so good. On that note too, I know you just put together a resource for parents, an assessment of sorts. Can you share about that assessment?
You bet. It's called the Coaching Needs Assessment. And what I often find is that parents think, well, I'm not exactly sure what parent coaching is for. Like, how do you know if your need is great enough? Or like, maybe I'm too bad for parent coaching. I mean, people sometimes wonder, does my problem fit? And so I thought this would be a great way for parents to just answer these 10 quick questions, and it kind of gives you a numeric value on where you might be or what kind of resources, help, or support might be necessary for you. And so I like that it can kind of direct us on a scale to the different resources that Parenting with Personality has available. So if people take this assessment, it can kind of give you an idea of where you stand. And then I would love to just visit with you and, talk a little bit about what is the result of your assessment and what might be helpful to you. And is there something that Parenting with Personality can offer you? Can I connect you with something? Can I be a personal help to help walk the journey through maybe some of the very things that we have walked through in our own life?
Yeah. And I want to encourage all of you, if you're interested in taking that assessment, it's super short. I've looked at it through and everything as well. But it's very insightful. So just drop assessment in the comments and we'll make sure that you get that. But also I want to say that sometimes we get fearful of like connecting with coaches or, people who have this line of work because we feel like we're going to be sold to. But I promise you that Jami is just a complete wealth of information and her heart really is to serve and to help people. Awesome. Faith says assessment. We'll make sure you get that, Faith. But so I just know through my interactions with Jami that when you're going to take something away from your time with her. And so just allowing yourself to be open with her about what's going on in your life with your child or children, and just allowing her to, if it's a fit, it's great. But if it's not, Jami still has resources and things that she can provide to you to help you along your journey. So I just want to encourage you, if this has spoken to you at all, contact her. Jami is just a beautiful person inside and out. And like I said, she's gifted in helping parents in this way. So, So Jami, do you have any last things that you'd like to share with our viewers today that we haven't already talked about?
Man, there's just so many wonderful things I could share. Today is National Encouragement Day. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not. How cool is
today
that?
is National Encouragement Day. And if all we have a call for is just for me to encourage you, encouragement means that much to me. And I just want to encourage every parent listening to this that you were chosen for your child for a special reason and a special purpose. Like God handpicked you, and He is going to equip you for every step of the journey. And while we would love to feel like a surplus and like, oh, I'm all over this, that probably won't happen in parenting because the game always changes. But God will continue to give you what you need for the very next step. And I promise you, when we just slow down and we key into understanding the special way that God wired our children, we can see some fabulous and amazing things come to life in them. And I would love to support you, whether it's through directing you to resources or just being part of the group and being continual encouragement or walking with you one-on-one or in a group. It doesn't matter how I can offer that encouragement to you, but I know parenting can feel like a challenge and a blessing. And I would just love to connect with you on your journey.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, well, I'm super, super excited to have had you here. Hold on a second. Okay. Just making sure we got all the comments there. Okay. So we have the assessment, but how else can people get a hold of you, Jami?
You bet. I have a Facebook group, Parenting with Personality. I can also connect with you on Instagram at the same Parenting with Personality or at parentingwithpersonality.com to get to the website.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And on your website, you have resources in there too. And
there's a free quiz there if you visit the website. Actually, 2 free quizzes. So
yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, and we'll share some of those links here in the comments for people too, Jami, just so it's easier for them to get a hold of you. And then again, if you want to take that assessment, let us know by just putting assessment in the chat and we'll make sure that you get that and are on your way to finding a little more peace in your parenting.
That's right.
That could be another name. Peace.
That's right. Peace in your parenting.
Thank you so much, Jami, for being here today. It has just been an honor to get to grow with you as a friend and then also in business. And I'm just really excited to see what this next quarter is going to do for you, and then all of the other parents that you are also positively affecting their lives and their families. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Well, it's a joy to be here. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. Oh, good. Yeah. I'm going to stop the live stream, and if you'll just hang on a moment in the Zoom room, and then we'll say our own proper goodbye. Okay.
You bet.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Faith says, thanks, Jamie. I always love hearing from you and learning from you. Love you, friend.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Faith.
All right. See you next time.